Yeah. Oh, it's 1985 film. I got it wrong. Here we go. Legend. This was like the poster art and stuff. Yes, so it's a 1985 film. I'm sorry, I said 1986, so I got it wrong. Soundtrack. Here we go. It had Tangerine Dream, and then Jerry Goldsmith. I did get it right. Yes, thank you. I have somewhat of a memory there. And for anyone who doesn't know, like Jerry Goldsmith's like works, go look at him. Star Trek, one of his most famous things he's ever done. But lots of stuff that the guy has done. That film, the reason I bring it up because yes, it's 1980s. It has an 80s look. It's old, but it had a huge name director attached to it, and it had a lot of problems with it. And it was just a single film, and its style is a little bit more in the sense of like a Legend of Zelda type film. Like, well, it's not Legend of Zelda. Like people who still believe that need to stop believing that it's not a Legend of Zelda film. It does feel like you're watching a movie that sort of could be believable as like a Legend of Zelda type plot. The theatrical version in the U.S. is a little ambiguous because of the editing and the scene selection, but the international version makes a little bit more sense, easier to follow. It had all that talent, had all that budget attached to it, and it's still just like an okay movie. It's not great, it's okay, but I guess this problem is like I just that's why people are asking in the chat why are people scared about a live action Zelda film and or sorry television series or anything live action Zelda, and that's why like no one has done anything close except for Lord of the Rings that has been fantasy films that have been good narrative and good production to make you believe you're in the world. But Lord of the Rings, as fantastical as it is, didn't have the type of some of the elements that are in the Legend of Zelda. Like again, how are they going to tackle dungeons? Like the different, like the gear Link uses and stuff. That's all you can do special effects. But like the monsters, Lord of the Rings had like orcs, and trolls, and the Balrog, and it had a few different unique enemies throughout the course of it. But I don't think it has the insanity that is the Zelda enemies. And bringing those to life on the screen, that's going to be a tall order. That is some crazy stuff. I mean, they could keep it simple and pick a handful of enemies, but I mean, think of some of the more elaborate enemies and bosses in the Legend of Zelda series, and try making those into a live action like effect. I mean, it's gonna be super CG fest at best, and I think that's why people are worried. People are worried about how the look was. I showed you that there are some cosplayers out there who can look very convincing. It's just like the acting part of it, which is the next part. Like, what is the story even going to be? Is it going to be a good story? Are you going to care about it, even if it looks well? There's a lot of things that have to go right. It feels like there's a lot working against this, but what it does have is this is gonna have a lot of people talking. As long as they keep updating about this and it just doesn't die off and get shuffled off into a corner and swept under the rug, this is something that could be positive in terms of like buzz. And I could see a lot of people wanting to watch it, just whether or not it's good or not. That's the problem. So I don't know. Like, why are some of you worried that it's gonna be live action, or are you not worried at all? Are some of you like actually excited? And yeah, like someone said, like in the chat, like Trusty Hobo said, like this biggest mistake would be focusing on gameplay elements like items, which is they can't do that. They can't have that focus on that type of stuff. So where does it become like what makes it still a Zelda film? Is it just the Link, Zelda, Ganon, Triforce part in Hyrule? I guess it's just intriguing is the best way to put it. Knowing like I hope we get to see something of this. I hope it just doesn't die off because I want to know what this high production of a TV series would do. It's not network television. It's going to be Netflix. There's going to be obviously a budget involved. If you haven't watched House of Cards is actually I love House of Cards. It's a really good series. Netflix originals like them and HBO. Like this is the way narrative-driven series are going. Either on cable and on streaming services, you're just not on network television anymore because network television is dwindling down. This is like the future. This is what people are gonna do. You have content creators who make the content and sell it to the service providers, whatever they may be. I mean, it used to be cable and network television. Now it's internet and streaming services. And other than HBO's name being attached to this, I think this is like the next best company named Netflix that could be attached to something like this to give people some kind of confidence. So let's see. Um, People want to know if this is going to be canon. Actually, it's season 3 of House of Cards coming out, not season 2. You missed out on some stuff if you haven't seen season 2. Pikmin, or someone saying CGI. So that's the thing, like, yeah, scouting, like, oh man, the budget for this is going to be insane. What are some other people's reactions? Oh man. Let's go towards the end of the thread. That's usually where the shock wears off on Gaff. People settle down and actually have discussion. Oh yeah, and the obvious question, who do you want to play Link, Zelda, and Ganon? Oh man, what is this? Oh gosh, this is old. Yeah, so there's some people who are concerned about the effects, who's going to be acting, is it going to be multiple seasons, what is it doing? Yeah, like, it can't follow any Zelda game, it just has to have its own original story that borrows elements from the different games, the core games, like the games rooted in Triforce Hyrule mythology. You could probably have some stuff with the side, I call them the side games, like Majora's Mask and Link's Awakening and the Four Swords games series. Like those, you can have elements from that, but like they're not just going to adapt Ocarina of Time into a series. That would not be a good idea because one, if you cut out all the dungeon stuff, all you're left with is a bunch of walking around and a few exposition scenes. Oh man, I'm kind of scared. Scared to click on some of these YouTube links in here. What is this? Oh, it's those people made the Hero Time made a Nope, we're not doing that. Sorry. I apologize for that. Oh man, the Mario Brothers movie. Because, and you know what? Here's the number one reason why people are afraid of this freaking live action stuff. This exists. This happened. Oh man, the whole movie. I don't know if I can click on that. Let's watch the trailer. Hopefully there's a good trailer. It's not. This exists. This was official.
Where are we? I got a feeling we're not in Brooklyn no more.
They don't even wear their outfits till the end of the film. They have like Daisy as the main person, so
they're plumbers. They're on the trail of a kidnapped princess.
That was Yoshi, and it had something to do with a meteor and dinosaurs. Oh yeah, they jump high with the boots, and they use the Super Scope 6. Oh man, the bomb part. You need to see this movie to believe it, but it's worth your 2 hours. Oh, the Koopa Brothers! Oh man, that was the best part. And that's Toad, that guy getting zapped. This is too good. Like Michael Bay Mario Brothers. All this explosion and driving.
Mario Brothers. This ain't no game.
Oh man, there you go. That's why. That's why people are worried about this, because it could end up like that. Oh, yes, a lot has changed. I know, but like, you still can't get rid of that perception. Like that perception still exists, and I know it has improved. There's been other series like. We've got Forward Unto Dawn. We have a Halo television series that exists that is apparently okay. That's not like the name of it, but that's like the movie that came with it. But they have their own adaptation of there is a World of Warcraft movie coming out. That's great, and like animation has definitely improved. Effects have definitely improved. It's totally doable to make I think an animated adaptation of any one of these games pretty well, actually. We've got Pixar, Disney Animation Studios, or DreamWorks behind it. Definitely could do something. Their films could definitely. I would not be opposed to seeing like Disney slash Pixar trying to adapt like a mini series for like The Legend of Zelda or something like that. That would totally be fine. I would love to see that. But again, like I just don't really know if I want to see live action. That's the thing. Like that's the problem. What is this? Oh, people want me to talk about the. What is this? Has to be a joke. Oh yeah, this is old. The Sonic the Hedgehog movie, but Sonic has a TV series though. Like that, that kind of does work. I mean, the whole. I really don't like giving this brand any more attention because the game was so bad. This.
Let's roll.
This.
What's he doing here?
We have a truce.
I didn't even bring any.
But I mean, this is meant to appeal to children, though. Is this really? I mean, you can make it look convincing visually, but is this really what you want out of like a Zelda show? You want it to be turned into something like this?
Destroy them once and for all.
I would argue like this is easier to do because it's like it's meant to be juvenile. It doesn't take a lot of thought to make this.
Give me back my robot.
Or what?
That's a fair question. The robo-apocalypse is nice! It's not like I'm paranoid. Stop following me!
Lucky thing I always have a plan B. No!
We're still working out a few kinks.
See, I mean that's Sonic Boom, but as someone thankfully pointed out, why are you so worried about this? It's been like 20 something years since the 30 years since the 80s. Better production values, better blah blah blah. Well, not so long ago, the people who were directly responsible for creating Final Fantasy made their own animation studio, which Nintendo has, and they made this Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within with an Evolve ad. This movie has absolutely nothing to do, has no Final Fantasy in it whatsoever. This is just some sci-fi film with the name Final Fantasy slapped on it. And this is what could happen with like a Zelda series. Like they could just take the name, take some of the imagery and call it Zelda, but it's not really like a Zelda thing. I don't think they can get away with that, with how fans would react to that. But this was so hype. Like everyone's like, man, Final Fantasy like CG film. This is gonna be great. Like amazing. Like this is what we've been waiting for, and we got this, which just shouldn't have been called Final Fantasy. Yeah, it's not even a good sci. It's an okay film on its own, but it's just like it's a Final Fantasy. It's They had so many big name actors for this too. It was just, oh man, the performances kind of suffered because the stiff animation and stuff. Like, what was the one character? It was not good. Oh my god.
Let's get the hell out of here.
Nothing you've seen, nothing you've experienced.
And the other thing is, I hope they get the marketing. They need to get away from the whole "this ain't no game," like it's reality, blah blah blah. Like they got to get away from that language. They have to treat us, with a little bit more respect. They have to treat the medium with a little bit more respect than it had even at this point.
It is not a fairy tale. It is true.
It's not a fairy tale, it is true. I mean, they did make this. I apologize. I'm actually still recovering from like food poisoning, so I'm a little a little out of it, so I do apologize. Here, let's just use the official Square channel so we don't get yelled at.
From the tanginess of Orange, California, to the savory.
And again, I'm using only official trailers here. I'm not showing any actual movies and stuff. These are just the trailers put up by the companies themselves. But I mean, here's an example of adapting a chapter of that's officially canon. And Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, I don't understand why they didn't make this first, but I wouldn't mind them trying to do something like this with Zelda. Like maybe adding on a chapter to an existing game storyline. Tune it down a bit. And using CG or anime to tell like the tale. And I don't know, people generally like Advent Children at all, at least the complete version? Yeah, like the writing, whatever. I'm talking about like as a video game thing. Like, is this like the balance that you want? Yeah, I'm talking about the complete version. The original version was kind of garbage. It was like, oh yeah, there's a Layden movie. I forgot about that one. So someone asked, like, the problem with Advent Children is you can't understand it without playing Final Fantasy VII, which is true. That is a fault. Like, one good rule about storytelling in film is that even if it's part of a serial arc, individual chapters, whether it's a film or episode, need to stand on their own. A person should be able to tune in and watch that episode and be able to enjoy it and not feel completely lost. If they feel completely lost, then I was taught when I went to school that that's kind of, it's risky at best. Like, you should really avoid doing that so you don't lose the audience. But at the same time, you don't need to sacrifice. You don't need everything a standalone, isolated story. Obviously, there's serial stuff. That's why television exists. And when television evolved in like the late 70s, early 80s to have serious, continual serial arcs where you needed to tune in every week to keep knowing what was going on, you were still rewarded with an actual good episode. You got satisfaction out of watching that individual 1 hour drama, and it felt you came away with something, but you still want to come back to next week to see what had happened. Like, think of your favorite, any episode of Game of Thrones. Like, the episode itself should still be good, and you should be able to sort of get what's going on. But I think that's actually one of the weaknesses of the Game of Thrones series, is that it's kind of hard to follow if you don't watch all of them. But something like True Detective actually was a little bit better. You definitely need to watch every episode to get all of it, but each individual episode was actually pretty good, and you weren't too terribly lost, honestly. I'm going to stop that. We don't need to see the ads for the rest of the stuff. So what did Swordfish point out? No. So I would argue you could actually watch any one of the individual Lord of the Rings films and not be completely lost. Because they actually do a little bit of a good job with the recap parts at the beginning, kind of giving you backstory. Especially the third one, when they show you in the... I forget if it was in the theatrical or the extended cut. It's been so long since like a difference between the two. I mean, one of the versions they show Smeagol, his origins, and then how he became Gollum. And it kind of gives you a backstory. And if you're just watching the third film by yourself, and you get to that point, they do enough to lay down elements that, hey, like we just recovered from this big battle, we're going to go fight another battle. You could get caught up really quickly through the dialogue. Like Gandalf basically says, like, all right, we need to go to like Minas Tirith. Like we need to warn Denethor about, the Sauron's not done. He's gonna unleash his full might against, it's Minas Tirith, and they got to be ready for it. And they give you enough information so you can enjoy, and as you go through the third film, enough pieces are given to you that you can fill in what's going on. I would say actually, you spend too much time doing the opposite thing, like in the first film, where they do that really long sequence where they kind of get you caught up on the history of the ring. That was pretty good for what it was, but in general, I was taught that like that's a great thing to do, is giving that much backstory. It's something you should reveal through the course of the natural storytelling process. You don't dedicate entire sections called prologue, unless it's like you're doing like a twist or something. Like, say you go through like a story and you're trying to get an answer or something, and it's like, here's the answer. We're gonna flash back to something and give you like, this is what you missed or something. Like, that has a payoff for it. The fact that I had to do that, they needed that much time to give you a backstory about the War of the Ring and everything. I was like, wow. Like, I first watched, was like, man, is this gonna be too much for me to process? But now think about like Zelda and think about like its crazy timeline and stuff. If they even remotely try to adapt anything that's official into a television series or film, you're telling me like, oh man, that's like a bad idea. They should straight up just create a new mythos that borrows elements and create their own original kind of like isolated storyline and not get into any of that crap. That could be like one of the worst mistakes they can make, is trying to make this canon, making this part of the official so-called Zelda timeline. And yes, like, I mean, the live action part is like so expensive. Yeah, and some people are asking why is Nintendo even talking with Netflix for live action? Because Nintendo made their own animation studio. Sorry, someone brought this up. Like no, that's not what I want to do. Guess you can't get them on here. I guess Nintendo. Let's just do the trailer. The official Nintendo one, please. So, I mean, Nintendo has made stuff like this, and I am not opposed to this. I don't know why they aren't doing this. They have the control, the creative control here. They control all aspects of this. This is pretty good animation. And it feels like I'm watching Pikmin. Isn't weird. Now imagine trying to make this live action. Like, Nintendo's games, they're already computer graphics. This is just an extension of it. If you want to make it a narrative medium, it just makes a whole lot more sense to go this route. No! That's kind of funny, actually. What? Okay, that's kind of funny. I've actually not seen these before. I've only seen, like, the Nintendo Direct footage. Of course, there's like no written stuff in this. Just the sounds the Pikmin and Olimar make, right? They don't speak. No, there's no discernible like dialogue in this. Oof. All right, I think that's enough for that. Someone brought up, yeah, Pikmin short movies. I mean, they've had done traditional hand animation. For Animal Crossing. I actually need to watch this. I haven't seen it. Oh yeah, Hyrule Warriors had voice acting. But I mean, like this, like, and what do you expect out of Animal Crossing? Like, this is about as much as you can expect. Ooh, KK Slider. Although this music kind of doesn't fit it. A little too epic.
今前売り券を買うととっても便利な金のアイテムデータ引換券がついてくるだなも。
Oh yeah, I mean this came out, Professor Layton film. Eternal Diva. I mean, I would argue this is kind of perfect actually. But then again, this series is very narrative driven. And like the gameplay parts are solving puzzles, which, I mean, you can make, think of like Indiana Jones type stuff. Like it translates well, perfectly into a film adaptation. So, I mean, these make sense. It's just like concept like Mario and Zelda, which have historically been light on the story elements and more heavy on actual game part of it. What do you do? And we showed you the Zelda animated series, and it was kind of like, what was that? Like, is that really what Zelda is? Yeah, the movie has puzzles. How do you feel about movie TV version of Metroid? So, Metroid, I think, would be more doable. I actually think that one would lend itself best to a live action, just because it already has a sci-fi premise. Does anyone remember the live action Metroid Prime trailer? This thing was amazing. Everyone saw this like, man, make a Metroid film.
Only punctuates the feeling of
And this is like 11 years old though.
virtually lifeless planet.
Oh, there's something I gotta show you too after this.
Well here. Evil. And it must be destroyed. Decimated. Exterminated.
And obviously this is a commercial, so it's not too high budget. I mean, high budget for a commercial, but... Oh, let's not talk about the Doom movie. Doom, the first person part, but... And then, remember this? More recently? That scene, no! So bad.
Past is not a memory. It's a force at my back.
And actually, in general, I actually like this commercial. A pretty good commercial. Too bad the game was not good.
I may not always like where it leads me, but like any story, the past needs resolution.
Oh man, that's Super Metroid.
What's past is prologue.
No, now it's bad! Where'd the good stuff go?